one power, invisible, and you see it everywhere and every day. One power, indescribable, and you speak of it with every word you say. Mysterious until you know the truth. As simple as the love inside of you. Call it God, call it Spirit, call it Jesus, call it Lord, call it Buddha, Baha'u'llah, angels' wings or heaven's door. But whatever name you give it, it's all one power, can't you see? It's the power of the love in you and me. One power, one power.
All right. Well, good morning. Good morning. Such is the nature of life that all it asks and all it wants is the opportunity to appear. And you are that opportunity, and so am I, and so it is. Welcome, everyone, to CSL Midtown, coming to you this morning from Atlanta, Georgia. We are so glad that you've joined us today. We welcome all people, no matter who you are, where you are in your life. We welcome if you're listening online right now, or if you're live right here in the room with us. So thank you for coming. Our center reflects the diverse tapestry of life. So we welcome you, whatever brought you here today, whatever path you are on, know that you are in the right place and that this is the right time for you. You are welcome to participate here today and to become a part of this community. And we hope for those of you who are watching online, you will like and share this with your friends. Let's listen now to our Declaration of Principles as written by our founder, Dr. Ernest Holmes. Okay.
A few of the Declaration of Principles we live by.
I believe in one God, one absolute power, and first cause to all things.
I believe that this power is perfect love, and it creates out of a desire to express love.
I believe all thought is creative, and how I choose to think creates my personal experience.
I believe in the unity of all life, and the immortality of the individual soul forever unfolding.
I believe in the eternal goodness, the eternal loving kindness, and the eternal givingness of God to all.
And so it is.
So grateful. Hey. All right. The full Declaration of Principle is on our website, cslmidtown.org. I am Judy Aehle, and I am one of the practitioners here at our center, and I am the practitioner for this morning and the moderator for the service. I'm not going to make a lot of introductory remarks. I'm going to lead us now into a spiritual mind treatment, which will be followed by music for inspiration, and then our speaker, which we'll introduce after that. So get comfortable in your seats, relax, close your eyes if you feel comfortable doing so, and know this with me. Please accept this for yourself in the first person as I say these words. I recognize and know that I live in this field of energy, this vibrant aliveness, this pulsating life force that is everywhere present. It is in me, it is around me, it is in every other person, it is in every cell of every person, in every microscopic part of everything that exists in the world. And that we call this life force, we call it God or spirit or universal intelligence or mind. And I just take a moment to be in awe at its presence everywhere. And as I think about that, I know that I am absolutely 100% always connected to it. I am one with it. I am never separated from it. Its goodness and power and presence expresses through me in fabulous ways. It expresses through me as love, as intelligence, as peace, as guidance, as abundance and prosperity, as vibrant health and vitality, as endless creativity of new ideas, of new perspectives on how to see life. And today, as I am just reflecting on this and knowing that this is the truth, I know that we are in the beginning of a new time, a new year, a new space, a time to embrace newness and love and expression of this power in greater and greater ways in our lives. So we just expect the best and we just allow this presence to flow through us and be what it is, which is a power for good in this world. I turn away from any ideas of struggle, strain, lack, limitation, fear, worry, all of that. I just turn away from all that. Any belief in the necessity of illness or any belief in the necessity of working so hard and pushing so hard. And instead, I just absolutely sink into this moment and be my authentic self and know that I am exactly right where I need to be, that I know what I need to know, and that this presence only desires to express through me in greater and greater ways. So I'm grateful for being here this morning. I'm grateful for everyone who is in this room and those listening through the ethers. And so I'm just grateful, and I release this treatment now, knowing that it is so, and so it is. Okay, so now we have some music for reflection.
Bring it on. Everything new, everything different, everything true. I am ready for my next thing to do. Oh, I know it's gonna be everything new. I'm through crying, I'm through waiting, I'm through hoping against all hope. I'm through longing for something gone that'll never return. Think I finally learned to bring it on. Everything new, everything different, everything true. I am ready for my next thing to do. Oh, I know it's gonna be everything new. I'm through grieving, I'm through dreaming that the life I had is ever coming back. No more wishing on someone else's star that'll never be mine. I think it's time to bring it on. Everything new, everything different, everything true. I am ready for my next thing to do. Oh, I know it's gonna be everything new. And I've survived many times before. Broken heart and slamming doors. I'll as I did back then. I'm gonna rise again, so bring it on. Everything new, everything different, everything true. I am ready for my next thing to do. Oh, I know it's gonna be everything new. So bring it on. Everything different, everything true. I am ready for my next thing to do. Oh, I know it's gonna be everything new. I know it's gonna be everything new.
Say one thing about him. I don't know if people follow him on Facebook, but he goes into Costco's and sits down at their demonstration pianos and plays like this kind of stuff and sings. It's really cool. He has like videos he puts up about that. Anyway, all right. So our speaker this morning is not a stranger to us. Reverend Susan has been with us many times, and she is currently part of the Centers for Spiritual Living at Atlanta Centers for Spiritual Living. That's how you say it. Anyway, I know her from way back in the old days at Atlanta Church of Religious Science with Dr. Kennedy Schultz. And I'm just happy that she's here today giving us a talk called Elevating Your Expectations. All right, Susan, come on up.
Good morning. That's anemic. Good morning. Thank you. The talk title is not actually that one, and it wasn't the one that's up there. I just made up a new title. No, I didn't. But I was a little surprised last night when I went to get my talk, and I couldn't find it in my folder of talks or on my computer. And I finally realized, oh, I changed the title and I should look for that one, because I was thinking, well, we could do a question and answer tomorrow. But I didn't want to do that, because I'll tell you how it got started for me. But the main question I think about is, had I only known what I was getting into when I walked into the Richard H. Rich Auditorium at Woodruff Arts Center in 1985. It was ACRS then, Atlanta Church of Religious Science, and now it's Spiritual Living Center of Atlanta. Vince, could we turn that down just a touch, please? Thank you. And I asked myself, you know, if I walked in there today, what would I want to know? What would I think about it? And I think I would want a time machine so I could go back and start earlier, because it changed my life. Did it change yours ever, going over there the first time you came into a church? Well, you know, here's how I would describe it. Music was playing on a grand piano by a master pianist, David Watkins. And there was these red velvet curtains, and the curtain would move back, and this man walked out onto the stage, and he said exactly what Judy said a moment ago, and it's worth listening to. Such is the nature of life, that all it wants and all it asks is the opportunity to appear. You are that opportunity, and so am I. And if you think about the impact of those words, it really does say a lot. And I think sometimes we hear those words, but we don't really get the impact of it. And I like to go back and think about that. But, you know, there was that music. And let me just say it like this. The curtain opened, and a man did not walk out. He sashayed out. He sashayed across that stage. And, you know, he had plenty of style. He had tons of style. He was a a New Yorker, had some of that tough New Yorker energy. And to going along with that style, he had a lot of information. He had an encyclopedic knowledge of science of mind, and he had an encyclopedia of how to use it and how not to use it. And he was fascinating. Now, he was not one to suffer a fool. If you knew him, you'd know that's being nice compared to what he said to some people. And he certainly did not suffer a fool gladly. He believed you come into this teaching, you're not going to get your hand held. You have to do self-healing. A lot of people want to go there and someone tell them everything's going to be all right. And he said, nope, not here. But, no matter what his manner was, and he could be quite curt, he was filling the Richard H. Rich Auditorium, and people were sitting in the aisles to hear what he had to say. And then there were 2 services because there wasn't enough room for everybody at one. Excuse me. So growing up in Southern Baptist Church in South Louisiana, which is notoriously a bastion of liberalness, this was very different to me to hear what he was saying and to realize what he was saying, because I didn't at first. And science of mind or religious science, it sounded like a cult. And people on the outside who would read about it thought it sounded like a cult. In fact, I asked my sister and another friend one time, who were both businesswomen, what do you think of the Creative Thought magazine that says it's too full of jargon? You capital this, capital that. No one's going to want to read it. But when you heard it from Ken, you got it. He was a master teacher. And, for all that thinking that, what is this place? What are they saying? I couldn't stop coming to church and listening. And then I started taking classes. And so it was really amazing. Ken really did not believe in that 50-foot tall, long sandy hair, long sandy beard, robed sandals man sitting in an uncomfortable gold chair like I had been. Remember the previous Southern Baptist reference. He didn't believe in that at all. And he said, God's not personal and God's not interested in the details of your life. And I thought, well. And so I said to him one day after the service, I had been going for too long, I said, what about I'm the way, the light, and truth? No man coming to the Father except by me. He looked at me and said, I'm not doing this now. That's all he said. Because, I really wanted to know. But that was Ken. He wasn't getting into it. And what I learned was really wonderful. Ken was not the least bit concerned with hell or the devil as we used to say. He didn't care about any of that, and he didn't believe in it. And here was somebody raised in the Southern Baptist. I am the granddaughter of an itinerant Southern Baptist minister who rode from church to church, either on horseback or in a buggy. And you can imagine the influences that comes along there. Excuse me. He eloquently taught science of mind or religious science, and he did it incisively and also humorously. And that's the origin of where this whole movement started for religious science in Atlanta. There was another small church he'd gone to, but he wanted to start his own group because he wanted something a little bit different. And it grew and it grew. And it became the Atlanta Church of Religious Science. And some of those people from there started this. Some people from there started the Midtown Church, Tony Carpoluccio's church. Some people started the Douglasville Church. So it was an idea whose time had come. Has your idea of time changed since you've come here? Is your time now? That's not rhetorical. Is your time now? Well, I mean, really, because I find I don't always think that way. And Ken taught in a way that church was financially secure. It really was. And he did this all the time, teaching a radically different view of spirituality, because science of mind is not meant to be a religion. The founder, Ernest Holmes, didn't want churches. He wanted teaching centers and teaching groups. And yet here we are today. So you have to remember at that time that AIDS was decimating the population. And people, I know in New York, where I have family, old apartment buildings had people all dying in them. They had vacancies because these people were just dropping dead. And it was a very frightening time. And there was a lot of the spiritually wounded walking around. And luckily, there were also the spiritually wonderful who were going around teaching them they were not bad, they were not sinners, and they weren't going to hell. And that those infected deserve God's wrath and punishment for their abhorrent behaviors. And there was a lot of need for love and acceptance on the divine level for those who were sick, for those who loved them, and those who cared for them. And Ken often spoke about the need for a greater God. Do you know what that means? Get a bigger idea of God if you want something to happen. Don't limit this. This is expansive. This is unlimited. So if you have things going on in your life you don't like, get a greater God, he said. I've never heard that there was a greater God. I just thought God was that 50-foot man up in the sky and, had a flunky list of angels around him taking notes on what you did, what body parts you used, and who you used them with. Literally. But Ken spoke to everyone. He didn't just speak to the gay men. And here I am about 40-something years later, close to that, because of what I yearned for and what I learned. A talk he gave in 1997 was entitled First Impressions. And as it's the first of the year, I want to talk about first impressions. And it was kind of tied to, you remember a couple of months ago, our theme was glow up. It sounded like we were lisping, because I think of grow up, but glow up is enhancing yourself and living this teaching and being a radiant example of what we can do with our lives. I still thought it sounded like they were lisping, but we're the manifestation of this great intelligence. It's a quantum field that created the earth. We're part of it, but not all of God, or this intelligent field, by whatever name called. Its characteristics are our characteristics. If it can create, we can create. But we're not doing it by ourselves. We're doing it with the divine mind. We're directing how it goes. You say, how can you direct God, Susan? Isn't God going to turn around and smite you for that smart mouth of yours? No, because what it is, it's a quantum field, and what we put into it returns as the experience of our lives. And it was meant for us to use it. For example, if you want this church overflowing, do you really believe it? Do you really? But what if some of the churches, like all over the country, aren't growing and they're not financially stable? Well, you have to pay attention to the signs, because it may be time for changes. Interesting, John and I were just having a talk about this the other day. Excuse me, we have infinite access to the unlimited potential of this quantum field. The unknowable is knowable. Don't think that it's not. The great unknown is knowable. The wisdom that we seek is not unavailable. It's there. It's there. And everything needed for us to transform our world is already available. I think about listening to your inner self. And recently, I have this watch I really like and a ring. And I put them in the same place every night. And suddenly I could not find them. I turned the house inside out. And I started ordering another watch. online. And so I kept going. I said, well, I'm getting another one. I think it's almost just like it. It'll be okay. And I kept hearing, go check the closet, go check the pockets of your coat. So I did that. And I checked every pocket probably 3 times just to make sure I hadn't missed anything. I'm sure none of you are obsessive like that, but I personally can be. Not often, but can. And I couldn't find them. And then the other day with the colder weather, I got out my heavy winter robe and I stuck my hand in the pocket and there was something there, and it was my watch and ring. I had just misinterpreted looking in your coat for the answers. But you know, it really was right there. I just misinterpreted. We have to learn how to listen, you know, because we do get the answers. You know, we have an intelligence within us and a vitality that knows beyond all the negative and the nonsense of this world that we have been exposed to. It knows how to make everything new. A new year, a new us. I decided that I am truly having a new year this year, that I have been letting some things languish. You know, if you don't keep up with this, it's really easy to get caught up in the world. Have you ever gotten caught up in the world and you think, oh my God, when you read the headlines or watch the news? No. Okay. Sometimes I have. Not often again, but, you know, so we have to know something bigger. And I bet that's why you're here today. Did anybody come here because they wanted to know something greater? Did you really? Or is this just a habit to come to church on Sunday mornings? I came here to learn something greater, and I learn it every time I write a talk and every time I give one, because I'm always giving them to myself, as we are all. You know, to embody this knowledge and this intelligence is indeed blessed. It is possible to be blessed, healed, prospered, all those things. It's there. You know, it says that in the Bible. The Bible says, I've always liked to say that, that ask and it is given, knock and the door is open, ask and ye shall receive. And it's done in faith. It's not, this quantum field is not personal, it's reacting to the impressions we get. Not, you were bad. You know what you did. You can't have that, you know, you can't have the pony for Christmas that you really wanted because you're not very good. No, it has no judgment of us. And it is a powerful, powerful field that is constantly responding by corresponding to our thoughts. In other words, what we're putting out there is coming back to us, even if we don't realize that's what it is. You know, the first impressions he spoke about are where we get our ideas that motivate and cause us to do what we do. Absolutely. And these may originate externally because we all have the world to deal with and we all learn these things, you know, and they go into our conscious mind and deeply into our subconscious mind, and we can let them motivate us when we have really no idea what we're believing. Did you ever realize that? No. Okay. Well, I did. And what I realized was that I grew up, I'm the second child, and I felt, and I absorbed the idea that I couldn't have what I wanted. When I wanted a horse really, really badly, and so my sister said she did, my parents asked my sister if she wanted a horse or piano. And do you know she took that damn piano? She did. And she's still playing today. She almost has a degree in piano, and she's got a baby grand at her house. I didn't get the horse. I didn't believe enough, and I didn't have the power to go out and buy myself a horse. But later on, I got a horse. I didn't have to take care of it or feed it, clean up, take it to the vet. I rescued it from Premarin trials where they used mare urine and gave it to a friend of mine in Louisiana. So I got to have a horsey, and I never would have believed I would have a horse, but the responsibility of having it was not given to me. You know, Ken spoke about people whose lives don't seem to be going anywhere. Have you ever felt like your life wasn't going anywhere? I see only one honest person in here. But he said, that people have the same old stuff, the same old, and they were going around and around with it, and things weren't changing. And he said, I was that way until I got a greater idea. And everything changed. Everything changed. And he got a greater idea of God, he said, and his place in the world. And he stopped drinking after years of drinking. He started focusing on his spiritual education in 2 different churches, but especially Science of Mind, as was taught by Raymond Charles Barker, who had the big church in in New York City for a long time. And Charles Barker was a student of Ernest Holmes. So Ken is the grandson of Ernest Holmes by way of teaching. And let me tell you, he knew his stuff. And I sometimes hear ministers from other churches at conferences and things who say things that Ken would turn over in his grave, get up and slap them for. Like, one minister said this from Sillamar, I can't wait to see what God wants me to do today. God doesn't want anything from us. God created us to express. God doesn't say, I really want you to go over and work at that grocery store. I really want you to marry Billy Bob. Get Boopsie out of your life. She's not good for you. Whatever. That's not the way it is. And what was seen as impossible in Ken's life became possible. Not necessarily easy, but possible. Do you have something you want to do that just isn't moving? Yeah, well, that happens. Believe and have faith that it is so, and we can move mountains. And it is possible to release addictions. I worked with someone who was heavily addicted in several areas: drug addictions, sex addictions. And, I would just sit there and talk to this person, and I got told, you never criticize me. Even when I relapsed, I said, you're moving in the right direction. What is there to criticize? I'm not here to criticize you. I'm here to give you a great life. And this man really prospered and turned his life around. He's married now. He's happy. He has a really successful career. It's interesting. On the day Ken gave that talk, way back years ago, he revealed that 30 years ago to the date, in February the 16th, 1967, he stopped drinking 30 seconds before he made that decision. He said he could have not stopped drinking, but 30 seconds after he made the decision, it was done. It was done. He went to his meetings. I don't know his whole process, but he knew in his heart suddenly that it was totally possible. And he remained sober for the rest of his life. I saw him out at dinner sometimes with friends, and they'd all be sharing a drink or two of something, and he had a nice glass of ice water or a soft drink with him. He never relapsed. He did what I call growing up in that day. When he made that decision, it was life-changing for him, and it transformed his life in a radical, very loving, and life-altering way. He ended up leaving New York, moving to Atlanta, continued to study Science of Mind, and then he started ACRS, which is now SLCA, as I told you. He became president of the organization Religious Science International, what we used to be. And he started a whole chain of changes in there that really upped our game. Now, to grow up or to glow up, as one of our themes was recently, is to transform positively. But we have to grow up. We have to grow up spiritually. We have to stop being a victim. We have to stop thinking that this is so hard. I'm going to have to really work at this. Do you ever think those things? Oh, me neither. Please. it has to become a deep belief, not just an idea. It all starts with an idea, but as we build on it and grow, as we focus on it and we call for divine intervention and divine inspiration, things begin to change, and they change the character of our lives. Absolutely. It may not always be easy, I want to stress this, but it is certainly possible. We can choose to think that something is easier than we thought it was before. Did you ever think about that? A psychologist said when we put off doing something, is a lot of times we perceive that the effort to do something is a lot greater than it actually is. And when we go do it, we thought, why have I been putting this off? It's easier than I thought. It took a lot less time. Do you ever do that? Yeah, well, that's so true spiritually also. By myself, I can do nothing. It is the God within me that does it, but I get to direct it. It's like the flow of electricity. I didn't make the electricity. I didn't wire this building. I didn't build the power plant, but I can tip the light on and make it light in here. I can turn the key in my car. Oh, that's old-fashioned. I can push the button in my car and start the car. I don't have to be an engineer. You can use this teaching right here, right now, from this very moment onward. Just believe. And if you have any thoughts about this, should you be worried about others, what they think about you? This is what Chief Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes, Supreme Court Justice, put it succinctly. The great thing in life is not so much where we stand as the direction in which we're moving. The great thing is not so much where we stand, but where we're moving. So if you have any concerns of where you're standing and where you're moving or not moving, realize that where you stand is not as important as the thoughts you choose right this minute and the next minute and the next minute, and how you choose to act. We can have a great thought. I don't have to drink anymore, and then sit down and have another one. So we have to take action, but we can have our behavior changed through divine help. And that really spoke a lot to me because I had a massive eating disorder, not great as some people I know, but I did, and I got out of it. And I didn't know how I was ever going to do that, but I did. So, where we stand in the eyes of other people is not really important. Standing on a principle does not make us better than someone else. It does not make us more spiritual, and it does not enrich our lives from just standing. People said, kids said, people stand for this and they stand for that and they stand on something, and they're standing there and they're not going anywhere. And I realized that was part of my life, and I didn't see the future as being that rosy unless I made some changes. Choosing new principles that enlarge us and heighten the quality of our lives, and therefore the quality of others around us, is done with love and faith and action. And a lot of times what we need to do is just drawn to us, and we get the help we want. I have things happen in my life I could have not have engineered better. And believe me, I tried. I wanted to tell God everything. God didn't listen, and it was worked out a lot better. Just remember, the people in this world do not value you for where you stand, but for what you do. You can stand for a lot of things, and they'll still know, well, why are you in the situation you're in when you're standing for this? And what you say, because it's not showing up in your life. God is impersonal. Intelligence is greater than I understand, and not interested in what you and I think about all day. We can think about what we want. We can think about earning money with no feeling of responsibility with what we do with that money or how we get it. Or we can be conscious and earn money or have relationships, whatever. Because God doesn't care. That was astounding. I would not say that in a Baptist church. God does not care about the personal details of our life. God is an intelligence, and it's not going, Susan, you silly girl, you don't really want to think that, but yet I seem to really want to think that, and I seem to manifest according to it. Well, Spirit is living through us, expressing through us, and wants for us what we want for ourselves. That's why I was so shocked when that minister stood up on the platform in Asilomar and said, I just can't wait to see what God wants me to do today. And I thought, I can't wait for Ken Schultz to arise from wherever he is now and smite thee. That wasn't very nice, but I thought he deserved smiting. The world will support us, in no matter what it takes to keep living beautifully. The resources are there. It means we have to take responsibility. And sometimes I don't want to take responsibility. I'd rather blame and whine and, go read a book or eat some chocolate or something. You ever feel that way? I want some honesty here. Yeah. Well, I found a quote that just summed it up for me. It said, I'd give up everything to become a small anthropomorphic woodland animal wearing Victorian clothes, living in a little house in the meadow, and my neighbor is a goose wearing a bonnet. And my only worry is, will my apple pie be ready for when Mrs. Owl comes to visit me at tea time? Sometimes that's how I feel. I want to be a small woodland creature. And then I remember, where they live and what they have to eat, and they're not eating apple pie, and, I get over it. Because when we give up our power to something, we feel it, and there's a discontent. Do you ever have a discontent when you're not using this teaching? Because you have manifested some great things in time, but suddenly it just doesn't seem to be working. All you have to do is renew yourself in thought, and it will change your feelings and your actions. And we can be renewed all the time. The folks we learned about in history, the martyrs and the saints, do we really believe that fasting for days on end, wearing hair shirts and whipping ourselves with a cat of nine tails is pleasing in the eyes of God? God, if God thought this way, probably said something like, look at that poor individual starving themselves to death. Isn't that sweet? Not, absolutely not. Burning at the stake, oh my, that just does not sound attractive. Still, there are those who believe on some level that even if it's not realized, we have to suffer to be good in the eyes of God. Have you ever thought that way? It's taught in a lot of places. Alton doesn't believe it, see? Y'all can too. And so this really brings home to me about Ken's point about getting a greater God. Because today we understand spirituality in life so much more. Through science and math, the universe is unfolding before us, and it's revealing itself in ways to us previously unknown. And Spirit speaks through math and science. I know some of you are horrified and just thought, I can't pray that way in math and science. No, Spirit works that way. We can use our intelligence and our thoughts and beliefs to change things. If you're hearing this talk today, just remember, Spirit reveals itself through talks, through intuition, meditation, prayer, visioning, something for everyone, and certainly the talks by wise spiritual teachers, certainly myself included. You may question that at times, but though some will embrace a vengeful, punishing God, I think no one in their right mind will let the God of the Old Testament babysit their children. You think about it. Well, here are the plagues. This is the plague of the boils, the plagues of the frogs. That person, if God was a person who did those things in the Old Testament here today, they'd be put in prison. They wouldn't be allowed to be around children. We have come so far, and are limited only by our lack of imagination and foresight. Years ago, who would have believed that it was possible, the leaps of knowledge that have been achieved over the last 200 years? You think what life was like 200 years ago, and you think about what it would be like if someone was suddenly transported on 285 in a Tesla, self-driving. They would have thought they were in hell, probably. The cars, the technology. Can we even imagine what life will be like 200 years from now? Or 500 or 1,000? Will there still be countries? Will there still be races? I don't know that, but it's going to be very exciting to learn about it wherever I am at that point in the universe. You know, do you think they would have believed growing replacement teeth, joint replacements, disease cure, finding lost cities in the desert that they dug up? No. Who knows what will next unfold? I personally look forward to the unfolding, the progress, and you and I were put here to express through the means of our lives, not to suffer and do without, because peace is possible. Peace is possible. There's enough food and enough water and enough clean air and enough clean water for everybody if we just start using our intelligence. I know some people think that our government is unintelligent, but we have to know that it's a sign of our collective consciousness. So can you see what I learned and love learning from Ken? It was wonderful. Can you see why I've been coming back? And about first impressions, remember that the first impression through all this is the impression that we choose to make of situations when we greet them, when we meet people, that first impression. But the first impression we should always be mindful of is the one we are taking into our own mind. Absolutely. I've grown up a lot. I think I'm growing and glowing. If you aren't, take some classes, read some books, go online and find things, but let us take care of our consciousness, really. Feed it and grow it well. As each of us grow up spiritually, this world is improving and improving. We're transforming the world in ways we may never see. As Elphaba so wisely sang in Wicked, unlimited, I'm unlimited. And so am I, and so are you. And as Ken would say, that ends the lesson. And as I say to Ken, my profound thanks. Namaste, aloha, shalom, blessed be, amen. And so it is. Thank you.
Thanks, Reverend Susan. Awesome, inspiring message this morning. We are grateful for that. And a little history lesson to go along with that as well. So it's now, yeah. All right. So our New Minister Sacred Covenant Easy Prayer. You can download this from the website, cslmidtown.org. And if you would read this with me, there's only one life. This life is good. This life is God. This life is my life now. In knowing that I am one with this life that is God, I therefore know that I am one with all of its blessed expressions, which include the presence of a new minister for my beloved spiritual community. Because I know that the highest purpose of my new minister is to express spirit, I therefore know that my new minister is a revelation of spirit as principle. I further know that my new minister is the fulfillment of that which has been promised by God, for it is written, principle is not bound by precedent. It operates according to law and is always available to those who are willing to align themselves with it. As I stand in agreement with my beloved community, I see my new minister before me as inspiring spiritual oneness through wisdom, love, and authenticity. I now intend to experience my new minister in full cooperation and agreement with my community, knowing this truth about myself. For I am inspired to live as love in the expression of principle. I am awakening the wisdom within me by clearly communicating the principles of universal truth. I am a conduit of divine love, wisdom, and healing energy, recognizing the inherent wholeness within all beings. I'm offering teachings, classes, and mystical studies grounded in spiritual principles to cultivate inner wisdom, personal transformation, and empowered living. I'm extending the love, compassion, and transformative power of spirit into the wider community, fostering connections that heal, uplift, and support individuals in their unique journeys. As I now accept the highest expression of a new minister into my life, I know that they will be revealed in a way that will express spirit and serve the highest and greatest good of all who are touched by their presence. I'm grateful God is gracious, and so it is. All right. Thanks, everybody. So that was a work we did mid-year last year to bring into consciousness what we'd like to see for a new minister. With our prosperity, we've got a matching grant from a donor for having this space here, $180 for the rent of this space, the once a month. So if you're so inclined to work with that matching grant, please consider donating for that as well. You can donate on cslmidtown.org/donate or scan the QR code on the screen and say with me our affirmation of prosperity. I live in a universe of abundance. As I freely and joyfully give, I join in the divine flow, and all that I share with life returns to me multiplied abundantly, and so it is. And there's also a basket in the back of the room for those of you here in the room that want to donate in person. So I've got some announcements. Next week, we're back online. Reverend Dr. Robert Brzezinski is our speaker, and his title is Awakening to the One, the Portal of 111. It's interesting. 111. So join us online for that and see that. And Robert graciously donated his speaking for that. Yeah. When we were at Anton, he said, I'll help you all out and speak for free. So that was his donation back to us for that. Every Sunday, 10 a.m., we have an adult discussion group led by Judy and Maya. And they're still going through the Science of Mind textbook. I don't know when you're going to change that. Let me know when you're going to change that, because that's a very thick book. And then, so if you'd like to know more, take lessons, discuss more about what Science of Mind and Religious Science is, join them for that at 10 a.m. on Sundays. You can go to CSLMidtown.org and scroll down to the Zoom and get the link for that. Now, let's do our affirmation of life. I leave this place now knowing something better than I knew before. I go forth into the world with a heart full of love and a mind full of good sense. I look at the world in a greater way, knowing that I have within me everything I need to create the life I desire. I give thanks for this understanding, and I am grateful for the spirit of life that lives through me, and so it is. And we've got potluck coming up, and for those of you online, thanks for joining us. Thanks for listening. Thanks for contributing, because without you, we wouldn't be here. All right, everybody, have a great week.
I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for all that I have. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for all that I have. Hey! Oh yeah. Grateful. I just say I am so grateful every day for all I have. Every day. I'm so grateful. I'm so